Welcome to the podcast, Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? I'm your host, Kevin Dennis.
And I'm August Yocher, co-host and brand manager at Fantasy Sound Event Services.
In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago.
Each week on this podcast, we'll explore a new corner of wedding planning so you can prepare for your I-dos without the stress.
From budgeting to booking vendors to the day of drama.
Let's talk smart wedding planning. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? And I know you're thinking, wow, that's exactly what Kevin says. And that wasn't Kevin. So
I'm here.
I just stole his line. I stole his line for today. But we have, of course, our host, Kevin Dennis, and we have a special guest today, Courtney, who works in our Fantasy Sound office. And she's joining us today.
So,
Hello,
Courtney, why don't you
everybody.
tell us a little bit about yourself and how we got you here today?
Well, I'm a bit of a Nepo hire because I am dating Kevin's son. We've been dating for about 3 years, and then about 2 years ago, Kevin said, "Hey, we need some help in the office," and he knew that I hated my job. So I left that job, came here, and now I work in the office. I respond to clients, I make contracts, and then I work some events like the photo booth and install and strikes, and yeah.
Courtney wears many hats here. She knows how to do
True.
a lot of different things.
That's right.
I like it.
All right. So, Courtney, she's coming on today for a fun topic that we brainstormed together. So, that being a Gen Z take on weddings. So, how working in the wedding industry changes the way that you plan your own. So, yes, Courtney is dating Nolan here at Fantasy Sound, but they're not engaged or married yet. But we're just kind of picking her brain based on what she knows in the industry and how she'd move forward. So anybody who works in the wedding industry listening to this, you know that it kind of gives you a very different perspective when you plan your own wedding when you've worked in the industry. So we're going to talk about top priorities, decision making, the value of a strong vendor team, and just in general how Gen Z is approaching wedding these days. But yeah, we're just getting all of Courtney's takes on that.
I'm excited.
All right. And then, as always, quick disclaimer before we jump in, if we mentioned something you did at your wedding or you're planning to do, we're not saying it's incorrect. We don't yuck anyone's yums around here. This conversation is just Courtney sharing her Gen Z perspective on how she'd plan her own wedding someday based on what she's seen in the industry. So, Kevin, why don't you take it away with our first question?
All right. So, before working weddings, what did you think weddings were like? You know, had you attended many?
I had gone to a couple like family weddings, so not any that I was really involved with the planning at all. I never really stopped to think about everything that went into a wedding. Obviously, I knew that they were a lot of work and took a lot of time, but I never thought it was as big as I know now. Definitely.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. I think I started working weddings when I was like 17 years old. And
Yeah,
funnily
exactly.
enough, I'm sure I used to work at a venue, as you guys may know. And I remember walking into one and seeing one of Fantasy Sound's lovely chandeliers and just being awestruck, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I think that the further you start working in weddings too, you kind of understand more, like you were saying, Courtney, the intricacies of everything. And you just don't understand how many moving parts there are. It's
Definitely.
really
I
crazy.
never thought of it really as like an industry before. I was only 19 when I started working here, and I knew Nolan for a while before we started dating, and he would always be like, "Oh, I have to work," and I'm like, "What is it that you guys do?" Because he'd be like, "Oh, I have to work during the day, then at night, and then all these weird hours," and I'm like, and he'd be like, "Oh, it's like DJ," and I'm like, "But you don't DJ." Like I had no idea what was happening until I really came around.
He's afraid of the DJ.
Yeah.
I feel like he could do it.
I think that you could do the music part. I think the MC part would be a little tough for him.
I get it. I think that's like, what is it, number one, number two biggest fear in adults is public speaking.
Right.
I
That
still
would be
get
the part that I
nervous.
struggle with.
Years.
Yeah.
I still get nervous.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you seem so natural at it.
Yeah,
No,
it
I wouldn't
depends on
have
the
thought that.
situation, or if there's a lot of people I know in the crowd,
Yeah, that
it'll
makes
make me
sense.
nervous. Yeah, especially like sometimes I'll introduce like a speaker at a conference, and I get nervous because there's a lot of people I know. So I don't know why. But it still happens to me too.
Yep.
I guess I feel the same way. If it's a crowd of people I know, somehow I'm more nervous than people I don't know because I just go in around and oh, I'm never gonna see these people again. Who cares what I
Exactly, you can
Yeah.
say?
kind of remove yourself from it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep.
All
I'm
right.
by far.
So Courtney, from your perspective, what do you think Gen Z couples seem to care about the most when planning a wedding? Like maybe stuff you've seen online or, weddings you've, attended working here or just attending them as a guest yourself.
Yeah, I think that especially with younger couples and stuff right now, like, guest experience is one of the top priorities. I feel
Mhm.
like people are putting a lot of time and effort and money into making sure the food is really good, making sure the music is really good, making sure there's things for the guests to be doing if they don't wanna be dancing, that's when you get, like, a photo booth or, the, like, artists that people can go and get their, like, portraits done, or you have games or whatever, but it's, like, much more focused on the party as a whole, not just on, like, the couple or the couple's families.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, and
So
I feel like with Gen Z too, I think in general, you kind of as the Gen Z generation, I feel like they're leaning less towards tangible things and experiences, like you were saying. And then kind of getting into the hypothetical, do you feel like with your own wedding, you'd probably have a lot of interactive experiences for guests to do? Like, is there
I
anything you've
think
ever thought
so.
about?
Like, I see a lot of changes in favors.
mm,
They're not
Hmm.
necessarily just some random trash heap that people take home, they're maybe something they can actually
M&Ms.
use. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, or like,
the custom
something they can
M&Ms.
actually use or like, something that they will really, like, take home, like the portraits or photo strips or something else to remember the
Yes.
night by, but it's more focused on the guests rather than like, "Oh, here's, like, I don't know, a mug." I don't know. But,
Hmm.
like, just something random that they'll probably never use. It's something a bit more practical, and then, yeah, just kind of focused on, like, the whole group. There's, like I've noticed just a big shift away from, like, the more traditional, like, ceremonial parts of the day,
hmm
um, and where people are just, like, sitting and watching. Like, obviously, the ceremony itself is still there, but, like, the, um, garter toss, I, like, don't ever see that anymore. Um,
Yeah, you don't.
I don't like, I think I've worked here for 2 years. I think I've been to 1 wedding where they did a garter toss.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds about right. I only had a couple last year. It
yeah.
just the more traditional, and some people are
They're
just
throwing different stuff too.
yeah, like all kinds of
Yeah.
different traditions. Like, are there any like that you're noticing like skipping or reworking?
I mean, yeah, definitely the garter toss, they're like, yeah, they'll throw something else, they'll involve people in a different way, but, yeah, I've seen that very rarely. Like, I know the shoe game was quite popular for a little bit, don't really see that anymore.
Mm-mm.
Um, I feel like people even for speeches, like, they're really limited the number of speeches they have and the length because, like, they're sweet, but especially for guests that maybe don't, like, know everybody as much or something, they don't want to sit through that. Or at least that's what I've noticed is people kinda tend to just make the speeches short and sweet and, they're still emotional and still, like, very heartwarming, but they're not, like, a long-lasting thing. Um,
4 is the magical number, I always say,
yeah.
when it comes to
Yeah,
speeches.
4 and they're quick, and you can tell when they start going long, people start getting fidgety, people
Mhm.
start needing to, like, go to the bathroom or need to refill their drinks or whatever. The kids, if you have kids, start getting crazy, and it's just that's not necessarily a priority anymore from what I see.
I like
Yeah,
the thing Kevin has been saying a lot, recommending people do the speeches during the rehearsal dinner, which I think
yeah,
is really cool too.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I
yeah,
know I
because you
just went
can
to a wedding as a guest in October, and they did, yeah, very few speeches. day of, like they did, I think the maid of honor and the, best man did one, but that was it. I think the parents of the bride did kind of a combined speech, but then everyone else did ones the night before at the rehearsal dinner.
Mm.
Because
Yeah,
then the people
usually
who really, like, know the couple and really know the families and stuff, they do get to hear it, and you get to hear the heartwarming stories and the "how much we love you," but the, like, guests that are, like, coworkers and, stuff the kids don't have to sit through and
Mhm.
wait, yeah.
yeah. Well, and it just usually it's a representative from each side of the family usually speaks at the wedding, and then like you said, and then it's one of the attendants, like whether it's a maid of honor, best man, or whoever it could be, one of the bridesmaids, groomsmen. That those are usually that's why 4 is the magic number that gets you there,
Mhm.
and you could even split them up and even do like the welcome speech.
Yeah.
Have the parents go at the welcome and then everyone else, go after dinner, do the other 2, so you break them up and there's not a lot of speeches that way. I'm seeing couples do a thank you
Yes.
speech. What do you think about that?
I I always love to hear that. I mean, you always know that the couple's grateful, right? You know that they are grateful for the people that have come out
Mhm.
of town, they're grateful for their vendors, they're grateful for their families, like, you know that, but it is always just nice to hear, because they've put a lot of work into it, um, as have their vendor team, and it's nice to hear them out loud say, "Thank you guys so much for being here and appreciating our love and sharing our love, celebrating our love," and I think that's very sweet.
It's always interesting to me to see how far people have traveled to come to the wedding because when they start
Oh, I
I
know.
saying,
love when they do
yeah,
It's so
that, yeah.
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just
That's
always
always so
blows.
fun.
They're all the way from London, all the way from, being Shanghai or wherever. I mean, it's crazy to me how far people will travel for a wedding.
Mhm. It's very like,
I
it's
don't
just very sweet, brings people together.
Mhm.
What are some things that you're seeing couples stressing about that don't actually matter as much on the actual wedding day? And I do kind of have a tangent after this because I've been seeing a lot of TikToks on this
Okay.
specific
Okay.
question.
I feel like what I see a lot is people not really trusting their vendors. They're trying to manage all their vendors day of, and you
Mm,
kinda just at some point need to hands off and say, "These people know what they're doing." If you're really particular about something, tell them before, make sure you're on the same page before, that's great, you should do that, but day of, like, that should not be a top priority, you should be enjoying the day surrounded by your bridal party or your groomsmen, you should be getting ready, getting photos, just enjoying it for the day instead of, like, trying to manage everything. Trust your vendor team, trust your
mm.
coordinator, your planner. That's something I see a lot is just, like, the couple freaking out, trying to, like, between sessions of, like, hair and makeup, come in and check on everything. So just, like, yeah, that's what I see a
Well,
lot.
that kind of reminds me because Kevin, in our last episode, we were talking with Dana Cadwell, and she was telling us a story about one of her brides that she had that during all the planning meetings, she said, like, I don't ever want to be approached on the wedding day with like easy type questions or easy type changes. She's like, I want to make a plan A through Z. So if something happens, you already know what my preference is, and or we're at a point in our vendor client relationship where I trust you enough to make decisions on my behalf. So that way you actually can enjoy the day
Yeah.
and you
Yeah, I
have a
think that's
team
really
that you fully
important.
trust in.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think that you want like, from a vendor standpoint, that's the kind of relationship you want, with the client, especially if they're a planner or coordinator, and that's why having a planner or coordinator is very important because you have been working with them for however long, and they do know what you want, they do know what your final vision is for the day, and they've been kind of a point of contact already. Um, and so they can make those calls for you because, yeah, you don't wanna be having to make decisions day of. You don't wanna have someone calling you or texting you being like, "What about this? What about this? What about this?" You just wanna be able to enjoy it.
On TikTok, like it's just a trend I feel like couples keep doing is like they will show a clip of the couple, it's the end of the night. they're just getting wild on the dance floor, and the caption is, "This is the moment when I didn't care what color the linens were."
Yeah.
And everyone keeps using
Yes.
that. Have you seen those? Like, I keep
Yes.
seeing couples post that, and I think it's so funny because it's so true. Because at the end of the night, you're like, "I just had the best day. I'm dancing, I'm drinking, I'm having a good time. Who cares what color the linens are?"
Or if
Yeah.
the
At
chicken
that
was
point.
dry or any
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And I
think
feel
that
like it's a good mind shift, so.
I agree. I think that when you're in the depth of planning, you're in the trenches of planning your wedding, it's like every detail needs to matter. Every detail like needs to be symbolic of us and our relationship. And I
Mhm.
get that because you want it to feel special and you want it to feel like you. But in the end, your guests aren't going to remember what your place settings look like or what, how how they were seated maybe a little out of order or whatever. If you're kind of stumbled over your words and your vows, they're gonna remember how they felt at the wedding and how you made them feel like they were a part of your relationship, part of your love story.
Mhm.
All right. So, question, so what's something you didn't understand about weddings until you worked them?
Definitely, like I said earlier, that there's like a whole industry behind it, that there's so many people and so many moving parts that go into each and every event. And something like I've really learned since being here for so long is that like every event is special to vendors for some random reason. You'll talk
Mm,
to somebody and they'll be like, "Oh, this couple I had, here are their names. They got married like 5 years ago, but like I still talk to them." And it's like, it's so special that, you're only working with them for this one day, but,
mhm.
you really do get to know them through the process and you get to know, like, we did, like, for example, we did one, a couple months ago where they had, like, kind of an Alice in Wonderland theme, and they had those beautiful lanterns and stuff, and, like, that couple, they were so nice and so cool, and we had similar interests, and, like, how it turned out was gorgeous, and it was, like, those just random things will stick with your vendor team, um, and how each vendor will have something that they connect with you over, whether
Mhm.
big or small, and it's really special to kind of form that kind of relationship with a couple to make their special days, even more special. That's why I love doing our open houses and stuff because you get to see them
Yeah.
face to face and you get to know them, you get to joke around with them, and you get to really understand, like, what they're looking for and why they're looking for what they're looking for, like, what their interests are, what their style is, and kind of their relationship dynamic.
Mhm.
I do feel like it's a bond, like, I have 2 couples that I've seen out in the wild after their wedding day, and both
In the
times it
wild.
was, and it was just it was so funny. Like, one time I was at there's a music festival in San Francisco, and I'm just waiting in line for the bathroom, and I hear someone screaming my name, and it's one of my old brides, and she's running at me, and both the bride and groom were there, and it was, oh my gosh, so great to see them, and I've had such a great connection with, like, I remembered their names, I remembered their day, they were so awesome. We went through a lot that day, like, during the introductions, the groom, someone, like, ran into him, and his contact popped out of his eye, and I actually found the contact on the floor. But anyway, and then the other one, they had a corgi and I have a corgi, and I it was a couple years ago, I went to the Corgi Con in Pleasanton, and they were there, and our corgis got
Oh.
to meet, and it was so cute because that was something we bonded over during the planning process, but like you were saying, Courtney, like, you really do have a special bond with them, and I hope all couples know that, like, yeah, we
Yeah,
care.
I would have thought before, like, oh, for especially one like, not one that you like a coordinator where you're working with them for months at a time, but, just a vendor, you're like, "Okay, well, they do so many events, right? They have, like, 6 events this weekend,
Mhm.
like, why would they remember me?" But then you working in it, you realize, yeah, that people stand out for so many different reasons, and you'll remember them, and you'll remember their faces and their names and what something special about their event day that really stood out to you, and then, yeah, you kinda you might run into them or they might get in contact later, or you'll come across them on social media and be like, "Oh, they bought a house," or, "Oh, they're traveling," "Oh, they got a dog," "Oh, they're having a baby," oh, whatever, and it's just you get these kind of just random connections with people, and you get to see their their lives kind of play out from afar and see just how special, yeah, like this day was kind of the start of all that, right?
Yeah.
And it's special.
It
I
is.
agree. I agree. All right. So, knowing what you know now, what would be some of your top priorities if you were planning your own wedding?
Definitely a planner, someone who, like you said, really understands what our vision is for the day to help kind of relieve that stress, especially if, you're both working and everything leading up to the wedding. It's just like it's a full-time job planning a wedding, which is why it's a coordinator's job to do it. Also, I think photo and video is always very important to a lot of people, including me. You want those memories. Definitely photo and video is really important to a lot of couples to have those kind of physical memories to look back on and to have to show. That's always quite important. And then I think, yeah, the a lot of effort and time will be put into making it personal to me and my fiance and to the guest experience.
Love it. All right. So, are there any Pinterest or Instagram, TikTok trends you love but would actually avoid in real life?
Well, that's a good one.
This was tough. I had a hard time thinking of ones. Um, I think there's a big difference in planning if you are planning to have kids at your wedding versus
Ugh.
not. And the biggest thing I think of is I have a lot of kids in my family. Nolan has a lot of kids in his family, and I would want to include them. Is um, don't have anything fragile. And like that's the biggest thing is like people will have these beautiful seating charts that are, maybe food or like glasses of champagne or whatever, but all I can think about when I see those is kids running up and running into it. Or we have the cake suspension um that we have
Yeah.
out in our we show them at our showcase and we install them every once in a while, and whenever somebody asks about them, I'm like, "But are you gonna have kids at the wedding?" Because a child will see that and say, "Oh, it's a swing," or
It's such a
whatever,
good
and
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I always think of is just and I know a lot of people don't have kids at their wedding, and I totally get that for that reason, but that's just something to consider for sure.
Yeah, no, well, this is kind of on the same realm. It wasn't even a kid, it was a groomsman, but it was introductions one time. They got a little too crazy with the dancing, and one of the groomsmen was like this close to knocking over the cake, but
That's so scary.
he was safe.
Uh,
It was fine, but everyone audibly gasped for a moment, so.
Yeah, no, that's scary. We had
Yeah.
one where we had market lights that hung from the ceiling and went down to the floor behind the sweetheart table, and about halfway through the event, like, toddler got bored and went over and was just stomping on the bulbs
Oh,
because
Oh, good, yeah.
they pop, right? They make a
Yeah.
noise and they whatever, and we're like, "Okay, so maybe that's just something to consider in the future is"
Yep.
yeah, the children.
the children.
The children.
So, other than like vendor type items, I know you mentioned planner, photo, video, but is there anything else that you would spend money on for your wedding without hesitation?
I think I really like the live artist,
Mm,
trend. I think they are just
Mm.
gorgeous, whether they're the ones that have a canvas and they're painting, like, a scene from the ceremony or the reception, or they're one of the ones that, paint the, guests as they come in to give them a favor. I think those are just so amazing. The artists are so talented, they're so cool, they're very personal, and then I think, one where there's a vendor we work with, KVT Fine Art, who is just phenomenal. Her work is incredible, and she stands there through the reception, she paints, and everyone goes over and looks and is so impressed. And in the end, you have this beautiful painting that can, go in your house or whatever. I think that's something that I would definitely consider spending, investing in because it's so unique and so cool.
her
All right.
videos are so cute too. I like
Yes,
her
they're so
stuff.
cute.
Yeah.
All right, Courtney, what's something you would keep simple or skip entirely?
I'd probably skip the garter toss for the same reason that a lot of people skip the garter toss is
Valid, valid. Yep.
I don't need, my religious grandparents seeing that.
Mm.
And I think also I'm seeing kind of a shift away from, like, a big cake. I think we've been seeing that for a little while. I personally have a lot of food allergies, and I don't think anybody else would enjoy a gluten-free cake, um, the way that I have to have it. So, I think that would something I would keep quite simple is maybe a small cake for the cake cutting, and then dessert table buffet kinda thing for the
Ice cream
guests, or
sundaes.
ice that is so my style.
Yes.
Yeah. So, that is something I would keep simple.
And the kids would love it too.
Yeah, and then they can go and get as much dessert as they want.
Yep. So when you are at the events physically, so whether you're, working the photo booth or installing lighting, when you're at the events, are there any guest experiences or elements that have kind of stood out to you that have gotten people talking a lot?
I think, like, the light we've been talking about the live painters and the
Mhm.
artists and stuff, that's always a big talking point I hear. Been just seeing people who have, like, flower bars where people can go and get
Those
flowers,
are cute,
or
yeah.
so cute, or arcade games. We've been seeing a lot of people book our arcade games. And that's just something that can keep people entertained and is something personal that you don't see very often. That's something that's it's normally the groom who, as they're leaving the showcase, they say, "How much
How
could we
much are
get for
these?
how much are these? Can we get
Yeah.
those there?" And, that's personal, right? You can tell, like, oh, that groom, and, like, they like Pac-Man or whatever, and then the guests will all go to the wedding and play Pac-Man and be like, "Oh, I know groom wanted this here?" And so that's kinda thing, just, like, it doesn't need to be an ultra formal event, and I think having if you are, like, funky and you want, like, a magician, like, and if that's something that you like and your guests would like, go for it because it's personal, and
Yeah,
your guests will even go, "Oh, that was such a
unique
blank person
experience.
wedding."
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or we
Fill in the
if there
blank
you
here,
have, like
yeah.
exactly, such a cool, unique, personalized wedding. If you want live music over a DJ, if you like, I've been seeing one of my favorite ones that I've been to in the past couple months was a couple, and they were both musicians, and so everything kind of revolved around music for the night, like, all their decor and stuff, and the groom's family was all musicians, and they played some music for a little while for the reception, like,
yeah.
and it was just fun and personal, and they sounded great. So just including those things that are personal to you, your guests will feel it.
All right, Courtney, if you were a guest at your own wedding, what would you want the feel to be like?
I want the guests to be comfortable, um, and feel really just feel like it's my wedding, really feel
Mhm.
like it's personal to me and my fiancé, to leave going, "Oh, that was Courtney's wedding." And that was it didn't feel I'm a very casual person, I'm not a fancy person. I don't want my guests there going like, "This isn't like her?" I want them to enjoy it for what it is. I want it to be a party. That's my preference, though. I want it to be big and a party, and that I understand the appeal of a small casual thing, but I want my guests to feel comfortable and like they belong there.
But then your, fiancé's Mr. Fancy Pants, so
But not really. I mean,
That's why
come
you need
on.
a blend. You need a blend of both
Yes.
of
Oh, it would
you?
definitely yeah.
So, yeah. Like this has got Courtney and Nolan written all over it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's what I want.
So, what advice would you give couples who feel overwhelmed by all the wedding content online? And this has been a big conversation we've been having on the
I'm
podcast lately.
sure. I'm sure. I think the first thing you need to do is really just prioritize. What are you going to be
Mhm.
spending your money on? Do you have any vendors or venues that you really like separate from social media, separate from what other people are saying? Just like you and your partner, what do you guys want? Like, what are your top priorities? I find a lot of times, like, people come into us and they don't have the same budget ideas and they don't have the same style ideas, and they end up getting a quote from us that is like 8 different things, 8 different options, and then I'm like, they're gonna go home and they're not any better off than they were because they're just being faced with so many decisions. So I think turn the phone off
Mm.
at some point
Yep.
and really take a look at your relationship, your budget, your preferences, and know that it's going to be special no matter what because it's you guys and your friends and family, your guests are going to like being there to celebrate you. Not everything has to be totally perfect because most weddings aren't. The weddings you're seeing on Instagram, TikTok, and whatever, they're very curated, right? Those are the photos that show the best of the day. And it's important to turn the phone off. I mean, I think that's for a lot of different scenarios. It's good to
Mhm.
turn the phone off, leave it behind, maybe like go outside and like talk about this in a
Yeah.
very just like from your point of view, what do you want? What are your priorities? And then just know that, yeah, your guests are there to celebrate you and your relationship and your love. They're not going to, again, care about the place settings or, the color of the bridesmaid's dress. Like, you're going to care. And that's fine if that's something you care about, but your guests won't. And then to trust your vendors. I feel like that's a big thing is if you have vendors that you like, go for it and then just trust them to do their job, especially if weddings are what they do all the time. They know what they're doing and trust them.
All right. We're going to wrap up with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready for this?
Okay. Yes,
I've
I
added
am.
I've added a couple more too, so
Oh,
Oh,
did you?
great.
more to the
This is
list.
coming from Courtney, a Gen Zer.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, you ready?
Ready? Yes.
Big wedding or intimate wedding?
Big. I
All right,
don't think I could get away with intimate.
you got it. Formal or relaxed?
Relaxed for sure. That's just my style though.
Just your style. All right. DJ or band?
I prefer DJ.
Okay. Flowers, real or fake?
Real.
Real or better. All right. Timeline, packed or go with the flow?
I wish I could say go with the flow, but I think it's gonna have to be packed.
What's the one food item you would want to have at your wedding?
Ooh. Oh God.
Caught her off
Ice
guard
cream. I
there.
think I really liked the ice cream sundae idea.
Mhm.
It's a good one.
Yeah, no, that's really smart. I've been to a couple where they have them, and it's always a hit.
Yeah, they really are. All right. Pinterest board or gut feeling?
Gut feeling,
Classic or non-traditional?
non-traditional.
It's weekend wedding or weekday vibe?
I think weekend.
All right.
Could be
Wedding
classy there.
inside or wedding outside?
Ooh, outside.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Wedding planner or no planner? And we know
Definitely
the
planner.
I was like, we know the
Definitely
answer to
planner.
this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, Courtney. Those are all the rapid fire questions I had. You have any you want to add, August?
Ooh. I don't know. Now I feel on the spot. I don't think
Okay.
No,
Didn't
I
mean to
also
put
feel
you on
a
the
lot
spot.
of the things Courtney picked, I would pick as well. So yeah.
Perfect. All right, Courtney, we can't thank you enough for being here. If you want to reach out to Courtney, you could get her at Fantasy Sound, all the details there, and you can give her some advice or tell her she's crazy or all the above. You could
I'll take all the
You
Be
know-
feedback.
nice to Courtney.
yes.
But yes, please be nice.
All right, folks. So thank you guys for listening to another episode. And now that I'm engaged, how do I get married? We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married podcast.
Brought to you by Fantasy Sound Event Services.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me or August if you have any topic you would like us to cover.
Or if you're struggling with your wedding planning, please be sure to submit a question to podcast@fantasysound.com.
I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a fan, we'd love if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave a review.
It helps others find our podcast so that they can learn from our guests too. And to everybody listening,
Happy wedding planning!